Now, the rest of the story.
Well, we are making progress. We got the bench ground is currently done. We started on the bottom ground here about 15 minutes ago. Dad's been down here for a little bit, but I can't say that everything's gone off without a hitch because the 566 broke down within the first 20 bales. So that second baler is looking better and better all the time. The only issues I've heard about it so far is Ryan said the belts on it, the actual roller belts, he says that they're loose, which they're not new anymore. I know that. I'm trying to get at least a year's use out of them, you know, save me a little bit of cash. And he said that on the hills, when he was cleaning up the steep waterways, he said that if he gets on an angle at all, he says it just doesn't want to tighten back up when you're dropping the end gate back down. So far, we're over 100 bales. I won't be able to tell you. Maybe I can just put it in the text over top here, but I think the field ground, the bench ground up there has yielded the highest it's ever yielded for me, which is what, this is the third year that it's been in hay. And yes, it's had dry fertilizer, but I'm not quite sure where it was at, because I had 15 bales plus. I came down and I opened up the bottom ground here for my dad. I think that was another 10 or 12 bales. So I ended up with 44 bales when I went back to finish up the bench ground. Ryan had 91, I had 44. Then you have to subtract 10 or 12 bales off of the headlands. I did two headlands down here for my dad, which he went from being pretty far ahead of us because I was broke down. So once again, there's only one baler he was chasing or trying to run from. And at least, you know, Tom and Jerry in it, you know. He actually stopped because the roller chain that broke, he wanted to make sure that I was able to get this thing going sooner than later, because I don't want to leave any windrows laying on the ground overnight. I probably could, just because of weather conditions. We aren't getting much for doing the overnight. It's getting cold. It was 47 this morning, but then during the day with the sun, it comes out, what, I think we're mid-80s right now, which everybody's worried about. Well, the dome of heat or something like that, or the dome of doom, because it's going to be so hot. Maybe that's more out in the plains, but for us, I'd be perfectly fine if winter or summer was like this. Blue sky, beautiful, and can make our hay. They are calling for rain here in a week. Not a week. Is it a week? Not a week. It's Monday. Tuesday, Sunday. So today is Sunday, and they're saying we got a chance Tuesday night, and then after that I think it's Saturday. The chance on Tuesday night is kind of dwindling, which if we don't get any rain, it's not the end of the world, because we have a lot of first cut to make yet, unfortunately. But you tell me, and I'll tell you. What makes more sense, to cut hay with rain in the forecast, hoping that it's not going to happen, or do you wait and hope that you get a stretch like this to happen? Well, to be honest, you have better chances of going down to the roulette table and putting it all on black, because it is a 50-50 chance as to whether or not it's going to work out for you or not. June is typically a wet month for us. This year and last year, it hasn't been, which I'm fine with that, because it's getting cold at night, it's cooling the corn off, but then during the day we're getting that heat, and it is marching the corn and bean crop right along, which is awesome. I'm all for that. The crops look awesome. You guys saw my crop update video of the corn. We got about, what, 2 acres, 3 acres of soybeans that look like hell, but you're fine. Well, Ryan's seeing me talk to myself, and he thinks I'm talking to him. So, as far as the 569 goes, I ran a little bit of hay through it, but 40 bales through it yesterday of pasture grass, and it baled up stuff the 566 won't bale. The baler is definitely what we needed. It's what I needed. It's been hurting for another baler, so this down here is why I got it, and I'm hoping Ryan's getting a lot of good drone footage around here. Go to How Farms Work if you want to see more of the drone work and everything. I've seen some of the stuff he's done so far, and this is actually probably one of our more scenic farms. It sure looks nice. My problem is, I'm stubborn enough. I've lost the bottom down here before. It was easily $10,000 worth of hay. It was first cut. It got a lot of rain on it. It ruined it. I was able to salvage 50 bales off of it, when normally I get well over 100. I ended up having to brush hog a bunch of it just to get it incorporated and get it back in the ground. Here comes Ryan. I don't know, I'm really digging this 2-baler thing. Might have to call Dad up and tell him to pedal faster. Oh, comment down below if you get the movie reference. Oh, I'll make it a little bit easier for you. It's, hey Winston, pedal faster. Good old Brendan Fraser. But it's true. Here's another movie reference for you. This stuff is fairly dry. There's a little bit of green in it, but like my pappy always used to say, greenness will cure, water will burn. And that's exactly true. This stuff, it hasn't had any rain on it. The biggest thing I'd have to worry about is just making sure there aren't any wet spots in it, which is what that tedder was for. But the outside around by the river, that did have some tough spots in it. It's irrelevant. I went through and I kind of ticked them off sideways so I know which ones they are. I hit them with a full dose of hay preservative. I'll go through and check them before we start picking hay up, and check them with the moisture tester if I need to take them home and feed them to the cows. So this, I don't want to say too much yet, but I think we're heading towards record hay production off the valley this year. Last year was a record year, but depends on what second and third cutting do. So that's why it's hard to say definitively that, yep, this is going to be an awesome yielding year. I mean, second and third cut could fall on their faces for all I know, but you can't have awesome yields if your first cut isn't adequate, and right now we're aiming for well above adequate. So the stuff's baling a lot better than it did last year. Last year it was like trying to bale straw. So, and the 82 runs that baler perfect. It's a great match for it. The duals don't bother it at all. I made sure that last night when I was running it on those pastures where I was doing a lot of ups and downs and sideways. One thing about duals, now that I bring it up, Dad's raking with the 4640 in the rake, and we did have, Dad had an instance where talk of putting the duals back on the 4640 for coming out down here to make hay, that conversation has taken place. So honestly, I'm not against it. I don't mind having the duals in the 46 down here for spraying. The only thing that would hurt is if we wanted to use it for cutting. which Northern Farmer, he uses that machine they have the duals on it for cutting, so maybe it won't hurt. I like it down here for flotation. To the left of where my dad is right now, where all that I'm taking that fence out, or that fence will be coming out, that has some low-lying spots on either side of it, and I was able to make it, cut it, everything. The thing that concerned me is like the 82, having all 8 tires on the ground, I think helped him float a lot better in that soft area because it wasn't swampy or anything, but once again, it was sinking down to the depth of the tread. And I'm not sure what logistically we're going to end up as far as getting this stuff hauled out, like picked up, because they are calling for a chance of rain tomorrow night. If this gets some rain on it, it's not going to hurt it, if for the amount of rain they're talking about. What would bother me is if they're saying severe thunderstorms, chance of absolutely terrible flooding, and you know, that storm that went through the other day. We went through the rain, the weather went north and south of us. It actually split on either side of us. But I was also told a little bit further south of us, southeast of us, they didn't get any rain. We got 0.2 of an inch. The landowners, they said they had 1/2 inch down here. This was the night before I cut it. And by 10 o'clock the next morning, when I was cutting, the ground, it was dried out. I wasn't digging it at all. I mean, it dried out as well as it can for the amount of material that's on it. I mean, that stuff's so thick. The sun is not going to get down to the dirt, to the soil, and dry it out. Just, there's no way. That's asking too much of the sun. So, I don't know. I'm not liking the lopsided bales that we're getting. That's actually a Ryan pass. Ryan did that. Did he? Or that was me. That could have been me. But that 569 has 3 bale sensors on it, on either side of it and in the center. And it makes it a lot easier, a lot nicer, making more consistent bales, like the one to the right here. My problem is, and it's a good problem to have, is getting all this stuff picked up and finding a place to put it inside until I move it. So I really don't want to like sell anything yet, at least for 2 weeks, because this stuff is going to sweat, it's going to heat, and I don't want to have any hay up for sale that is, you know, heating. It's inevitable. You can't help it. It's going to do it, so you might as well just accept it and plan accordingly. Again, might be kind of interesting getting this stuff picked up. I got plenty of people offering to help. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards running both skid steers and then 2 wagons. Run the flatbed and the bale wagon, and then have Dad or Ryan and the deer steer down here or across the works, you know, picking and loading hay up, and I'll be back up at the buildings and I'll just unload them. So if we're able to get a pretty good groove going, he can keep picking up bales consistently, and if we can have one loading and one unloading approximately the same time, I think we can make quick work of this. Because then sometime, I'm not sure, I have to get down here and fertilize it. I'm not going to skimp on that right now. I mean, if anything, it'll be third cutting. Second cut still has some wicked potential. The only problem is I have to put the sprayer back in the gator. I have some soybean edges I gotta clean up, which isn't a surprise. I knew I was gonna have to do this clear back in January. Just the nature of it. And then we still have a bunch of first cut to make. I got a wedding that we're supposed to be dealing with, and cultivating, which I'm not cultivating 100% of my acres this year, just because it got so late waiting for the rain, where the rain to hold off where I can make this. And now that I'm making hay, I should be cultivating. And the corn is finally taking off because it's responding to the heat. Because it didn't really seem like the corn was doing anything. Because yeah, I could have went last week and ran, but at the same time, there's such a short window where I actually want to cultivate, because the stuff is about knee high. It's about to the axle, the front axle, and the 40/20. The reason I like that is because I can go about 5th gear wide open or 1700 RPMs and just rip up acres. And it's a lot better to me. I'd rather put the liquid down, the nitrogen down, the side dress down when the plants are a little bit bigger and they can utilize it more. I think everybody has their reasons for it, but I'm not in the camp of wanting to side dress my crop when it's only up to my ankles. At that point, I'd almost think you're better off just putting your nitrogen down up front before you plant and be done with it, rather than coming in side dress when it's so short yet. I'd rather have the advantage of late season application, which, you know, is wide dropping. And the acres that I'm prioritizing on side dressing is actually getting urea. It was the last field that I planted, and then now, let's see here. It was the last field that I planted. It's getting urea because they can't really wide drop it the easiest without running a bunch of corn down. So they're going to broadcast urea hopefully before this next rain, and I'm going to try to go through and hit it with a cultivator and incorporate that urea a little bit. I've done that in the past and I've had really, really good results. The only thing that I'm kind of watching for is I don't like how it burns the corn plant when you broadcast urea, but when I did it before, it really didn't hurt yield. I mean, the place did over 210, but that's a lot of it too, is you gotta be willing to spend the money to make money. The thing is that you're not spending too much money, where the additional bushels you are gaining are getting chewed up in input costs. And then your marketing goes into it too, which I'm not making this a marketing video. But as far as hay goes, it's really looking to me like we're not going to get this done today. It's 4 o'clock. We're about 60% done. The bench ground comes out to about 40% of this farm. I think we'll be able to get started on the lower bottom, but the neighbor's place and the pasture, that's over 30 acres yet. So we'll be down here tomorrow baling, and then hopefully start, maybe potentially possibly hauling stuff in tomorrow. We got to get the machines down here to do it also. My baler, or the baler I'm running, the 566, issues are with the sprockets. I have some sprockets that are getting J-hooked that I left for first cutting, and I can hear them banging back there when I get into heavy material, you know, like the stuff in front of us. And I'm trying to push it too hard, so I'm going 6 miles an hour, and I'm actually not doing too bad a job. This stuff is looking nice. It's got good color, and Ryan's on my windrow. Oh well. So he's doing a lot of filming. That's slowing him up a little bit, but the second baler was such a good decision. I can't even begin to describe how great it is knowing that we just have that second piece of equipment that's able to to work on this ground, especially when I was broken down, because it was an hour round trip. By the time I got back here, fixed everything. That was an hour that Ryan was able to keep baling, so at least you're getting some kind of progress made. And as far as getting the rest of our first cut done, I don't want to swear away the rain, but I'll take rain if we can get it. But at the same time, we got enough to do on the days that it doesn't. Probably not going to have any time to really breathe until sometime mid-July. But the thing about mid-July is, by the time we get to that point, I'll already be looking at this about making the second cutoff of it. So, never a dull moment. I'm going to end this video because I'm going to get back to making sure, focusing on the balers, I'm not doing anything that I shouldn't, you know, like pushing it too hard. But before I go, I'll tell you I got 62 bales. I should break 100. Ryan's already broken 100. So, yes, we should be able to break 250. I'd say 300 bales is well within reason. It's definitely in the cards, I'll say that much. I mean, the next question is how far north above 300 is it going to hit? Because keep in mind, I don't have everything in the lower bottom cut, because it's still holding water, a bunch of water, but it is drying out, which I don't want to sound off the alarms. Oh my gosh, we're heading to a drought. We got more moisture this year than we did last year at this time. We're fine. But leave your comments down below. You guys can see, or have seen for the most part, everything that's down here. I've told you how many bales we've made it in the past, give or take. So the fact that that bench ground up there, up on the hill, has averaged 60 bales, give or take 5 or 10 in the past, and we got over 100 on it this time around. My only concern would be is that this is the lion's share of my tonnage for this year, and second and third crop just fall flat in their faces. So you never know until it's in the bin, right? That's why I don't get carried away doing yield checks anymore. I used to. It was fun. Sit and daydream about getting yields that are 30 to 50 bushels better than what you end up getting anyway. But to be fair, our yields are good. We don't get poor yields by any means, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But it is also why I go through and do everything like we do, and that's just the program. We between the side dressing and the chemicals we spray and the planting upgrade, that should gain us XYZ amount of bushels right across the board. So Andrew's been after me for a while to go ahead and do that, upgrade the planter. So it's all about efficiency and cost of production, because if things keep going the way they're going, everybody's biggest concern is you're able to produce a commodity that nobody wants, or produce a product that nobody wants. That's it for this one, guys. It's probably too long as it is. I'm going to have to do another update video on down here, plus a video on hauling, plus a video on everything else that I should be doing when we're down here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.